Hey, good afternoon to you. 4:06 now. News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. Coming up this hour, Tom Bevan from Real Clear Politics will navigate all this incoming polling data. Things are not looking good for Kamala Harris. That sounds like good news for the country. We'll ask Tom how optimistic he is about all of this. That's at 4:30. And then at 5:30, the host of the Matt Walsh Show and the creator of the new film, Am I Racist? Matt Walsh joins us. We'll talk to him about what it was like sitting down with Robin DiAngelo, the white lady who tells white people that they're racist. You can join us, 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. Yes, the big debate tomorrow night. You'll be able to hear it live right here on WMAL, the ABC News debate between President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Ding Dong. The two of them together. The microphones will be muted during the period in which you are not the speaker. The microphone gets muted, just like we saw with the Joe Biden debate against President Trump. Biden ran himself out of that race at that moment. He had a disastrous debate performance, which sent up the bat signal. Nancy Pelosi and company, they instantly moved to, Brutus this guy. To take him out of the race. It's time to go. It's time to go. So they ejected Joe Biden from the entire race, and they chose Kamala Harris, Kamala Ding Dong, to be the replacement. And so nobody's voted for this lady. No votes. She's the nominee. We've got less than 60 days to go before the election. They're hoping they can ram this lady through without real scrutiny, and they're desperately hoping that she can survive this debate this week. Survive it. Now, I know in the debate game, when you talk about these debates, you don't want to lower expectations so much that it makes it seem like, oh, she was so impressive because she survived. She survived. I'm going to let other people play that game, setting expectations. If you're a Trump campaign representative, you want to go out there and you want to set expectations, go for it and say, yeah, Kamala Harris, she was a prosecutor at one point. You never know. There might be a talented Kamala Harris who shows up on that debate stage. I'm not playing that game. I'm just here to tell you I'm not impressed at all. I think what they're doing with her candidacy right now is a joke. It's an insult to the average American. This idea that she's anything but a radical, that she's able to connect with voters on a base level, that she's going to serve the needs of a broad American electorate, that she's going to lift all boats, that she's going to make us a wealthier, healthier, more whole nation, that she's going to end division. It's all nonsense. It's just utter nonsense. And so I'm not playing that game. I think what's going to happen is she's going to show up tomorrow. She's going to have trouble speaking in any eloquent fashion. She's awful if she doesn't have a script in front of her. She's awful if she doesn't have a teleprompter rolling. And she's going to be fighting for her very life tomorrow night, just to keep her head above water. Those are the expectations I'm at right now. That's what I expect from Kamala. Because she's never shown me anything different in any ad-libbed moment ever, especially when it comes to having policy views or explaining what's going on in the world. Remember she got asked on that radio show, can you describe what's happening between Russia and Ukraine? Well, Russia's a big country, Ukraine's a smaller country, and the bigger country invaded the smaller country. So that's bad. What? Are you talking to children? What are you doing? What is this? So I'm not expecting a tremendous amount. Now, her own people are trying to lower expectations for her and elevate expectations for Trump. It's the only time you're going to hear Democrats say that Trump has skill. Trump's got some real skill. He's a really talented debater. And it is true. President Trump is this in all of American history? It might be. I think it must be. It has to be. In all of American history, nobody has participated in and prepared for more general election presidential debates than Donald Trump. He's been in a lot of debates. He's definitely had the practice. And here's MSNBC Kamala spokesman Quentin Fulks telling us Well, Trump is very, very skilled.
Well, look, all jokes aside, we are taking this extremely seriously. Donald Trump is a skilled debater. He has been in the most presidential debates of any candidate in presidential history.
Yeah.
This will be the vice president's first presidential debate as the nominee. And so, we know that Donald Trump is preparing, as he has been for weeks. And so he's going to come ready.
Did he say first? So does that suggest there'll be a second? Will there be another debate with Kamala Harris? I don't think so. I think this is, we're in the one and done camp. But, even their campaign's like, well, this is her first go. So, grade her on a curve. You never know what kind of Kamala's going to show up tomorrow night. Trump is very practiced. He's got a lot of practice doing this. He's very, very skilled. It's the only time they'll ever pay him a compliment. When they're playing the expectations game. The rest of he's a psycho. He's gonna be a dictator. Da da da. MSNBC also, here's another spokeswoman, Adrian Elrod.
Look, the debates are, they can be challenging. And I think when you have Trump up there on the stage spewing lies, saying things that are completely false.
Getting laughs, there will be no audience.
False time and time again. When you are debating him, do you spend your time trying to fact check him and hoping that the moderators will fact check him?
I would love to see.
But I would
love to see Kamala Harris fact check anything. Is Kamala Harris going to spend all of her time fact checking Donald Trump? I hope she does. I'd love to see what that looks like and sounds like.
They don't. Do you spend time doing that, or do you spend time talking to the American people directly about how you're going to improve their lives? So I think you're going to see, her doing incredibly well in those moments. But look, I think we cannot underestimate the fact that Donald Trump is a pretty good debater. He's done this 7 times. He's been preparing. He beat President Biden in the debate in June. So I think he's going to be prepared himself, and we'll just see how it plays out.
Holy cow. So they're at the point where they're like, yeah, Trump's dominant. I mean, he destroyed. Did you see what he did to Joe? He destroyed Joe Biden. He beat him like a rented mule. He whooped Joe Biden. That guy's amazing. He's the Tom Brady of debates. Holy cow. I get excited just talking about how amazing at debates Donald Trump is, says Kamala Harris' spokeswoman. Yeah, he beat Joe Biden. I was laughing out loud at this clip earlier today as we were playing it in preparation for the show. He beat Joe Biden in the debate. Now, I like Trump, and I want to give him all the credit in the world for beating Joe Biden and chasing him out of the race. But Joe Biden beat Joe Biden in June. Joe Biden was self-immolating like he was protesting in front of the Israeli embassy during that debate. It was awful. It was awful. And Trump just stood by and let it burn. Trump's like, I don't know what's going on over there, but the camera should probably focus on it. And that worked great. The polls definitely, after that was over, I was like, whoop. Trump shoots up. Biden goes down. The left's panic sets in. Of course, that's also one of the reasons why they forced him to debate so early, is so they could put him through his paces, see if they needed to eject him. And as soon as he gave them the signal with his failing mind, they trebuchet him out of the race. Sorry, Joe, you've got to go. And so Kamala's in. How's she going to do? Is there a scenario, do you think, that where Kamala performs so poorly tomorrow that they eject her? Is it too late to replace Kamala in this race? You never know. I don't think so. I wouldn't put anything past the left. They might replace Kamala. And one more reason for this, and we'll get into this in more detail with Tom Bevan coming up. Have you been following the drama around Nate Silver's predictions? The left is freaking out. This former New York Times pollster, the 538 guy, Nate Silver, he's got a model that he uses, and he ingests all of the polling data as it comes in. And then his model, a scientific model, a data-driven model, spits out a prediction about the likeliness of a Trump or a Harris victory. And I've brought you some updates on it just because it's good and it drives the left crazy. And it's good news for Trump. But as of yesterday, Nate Silver's model has President Trump at a 63.8% chance of victory. 63.8% chance. It's a new high. Kamala Harris at a 36% chance of victory here. And if you go state by state, all these battleground states, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, North Carolina, Georgia, Nevada, it's Trump, 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 Trump all the way down. with a high likelihood that he wins in these states. And as I mentioned, every time I mention this data, I just want to point out that this is different than a poll where you assess, well, 54% of the public prefers this candidate. That's not what this is. This is chances of winning. So if you were given a lottery scratch-off ticket, like, hey, you have a 36% chance of hitting $1 million. Those are great odds. 36% chance. So Kamala Harris is still doing well, according to this data. She has a 36% chance of victory, according to this Nate Silver assessment. But the left is panicking over this. They are freaking out. They're mad at Nate. How dare you say this? What are you doing? You're hurting us. I thought you were one of us. It's crazy. It's crazy, but it does make you wonder, like, to what extent will they replace this lady? Like, what are the chances that could happen? Because all the pollsters on this question, and we'll see with Tom Bevan if he feels the same way, they keep saying that she's already hit her ceiling. There's no upward trajectory for her. In fact, right now, one of the big problems that she has is because of the media kicking dust in the eyes of the American people, a lot of people don't even know who she is or what she believes in. She's been vice president of the United States for 3.5 years. And in terms of getting to know her, the New York Times poll that just came out this weekend, the one that everybody's talking about, the one that has Trump up by 2 points nationally, that survey said that 28% of likely voters think they need to know more about Kamala Harris. 28. They want to know more about her. 28%. That's almost a third of the public saying, I just don't know enough to really judge her, actually. How did that happen? Well, that's an indictment of the media. That's an indictment of the press. The concealment game. Kamala Harris, who has cast more tie-breaking votes than any vice president in American history, has definitely had influence over the state of affairs now. The reason your groceries are more expensive is not because of the grocery store price gouging you. It's because Kamala Harris injected trillions of dollars of cash into the economy that shouldn't be here. That's what happened. Kamala is to blame, so long as she's looking for root causes. Kamala and Biden and the Democrats and everyone who went along with this. So Kamala Harris is a mystery to voters. Only 9% say they need to know more about Donald Trump. 9%. Who are these 9% of people? You're not familiar with Donald Trump by now? It's like just when you think it's fully saturated. Well, 91% of the country has a view, but 9% think, I'd like to know more. It is kind of nice. Maybe they're changing their minds. Maybe this is a number of voters who are saying, it's time to take a second look. Could be. In fact, among Biden 2020 voters only in that New York Times poll, Biden 2020, 6% of them are voting for Trump. 92% of them are voting for Kamala. 6% as of this moment say they're voting for Trump. They're switching their votes. Compare that to Trump's numbers. Trump has lost just 2% of his 2020 voters to Kamala. 2. So if there's vote switching going on, it's from the left to the right. That's the actual phenomenon. So very, very interesting data coming out. And like I said, we'll sort it all out with Tom Bevan coming up here in just a few minutes. Also, your phone calls in just a moment. As I have an update on what I just said about Nate Silver's predictions. I said he had Trump at a 63.8% chance of winning the election as of yesterday. I guess he just updated 20 minutes ago. 64.4% now. That's a new high. 64.4. Say your prayers that that's true. Say your prayers. Jason from Kensington, line 2. Jason, good afternoon. So you're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hey, good day, Vince. How you going, mate?
I'm all right, Jason. What's up?
Hey, it's funny. Like, you think at some stage these voters would sort of consider some sort of self-preservation and just realize that this is a far inferior candidate, that, you know, all the fluff that this media is putting up is just going to set them up for a major disappointment, hopefully for us. But, I mean, and that's what sort of causes a lot of riots, is that the media shelters all these people from the information, and then all of a sudden they get shocked into thinking, man, we're going to burn this place down.
Yes.
You know, someone was lying to us. Instead of blaming the media, you know, they go after everybody else but them, and the media gets a back door to it.
I know. It turns out there are consequences to censorship. It drives people crazy. And you know, and the other thing is, like, in the survey data here, Jason, the reality is like people don't even think that Trump is like in any way extreme on his actual policy views. They think he's middle of the road, which is true. He is actually pretty middle of the road on his policy views, and they think that Kamala Harris is far left wing. So despite the media's best efforts, the American people really can see these people for who they are, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you think at some stage, the media's got, a 6% approval rating? They get that for a reason.
Yeah.
And it's because they lie all the time. And these people who follow them, it's like, why are you even considering their opinion? I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, look for the information yourself. Yeah. But they don't want to. They just want to see whoever can beat Trump.
I know. It's a power preservation project. It's not actually about delivering the truth, which is why they don't look at it and go, oh, man, look at the crappy marks we're getting, and then think they need to course correct because they know what their mission is, and it is not to deliver the truth, quite unfortunately, Jason.
It's unreal. Well, good luck with your eyes, mate, because you'll need them down the road.
I think I will. There's a lot to see. Thank you, Jason.
I'm it out now.
Thanks so much, sir. Appreciate your call. Leo's in Colorado, line 1. Hello, Leo. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hey, Vince. I was hoping to get in before you went to break.
Yes, sir.
I was telling Corey that maybe she needs, with the debate, she's going to need her support person, and I just wrote down maybe Waltz can walk in with her with a vest that reads service person instead of service animal.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
That'd be the first battle he ever deployed to.
Oh, good one.
I just wanted to take a cheap shot at him.
He'll be under heavy fire.
Well, it would be interesting. Would Tim Walz, maybe he'll be hiding somewhere, coughing out answers. Felon. And Harris is like, yeah, he's a convicted felon. We'll see. Tim, talk about an awful decision. In case you're wondering about Kamala Harris's decision-making, hiring Tim Walz as her first major act as a presidential candidate should tell you everything. What a complete disaster. Coming up, Tom Bevan from Real Clear Politics. We'll get the latest on the data with him. Hey, good afternoon to you. It's 4:35 here. News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. Coming up, 5:30, host of the Matt Walsh Show. You can hear him each weeknight here on WMAL. Matt Walsh joins me. He's got a brand new movie out, Am I Racist?, debuting September 13th in theaters everywhere. We'll talk about what it took to make that movie. Looks hilarious. And you can join us at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. Well, the winds definitely seem to be shifting in President Trump's favor. In fact, a big New York Times survey this weekend does find the race to be a, quote, dead heat, but that was completely unexpected on the left, which thought that the Vibes campaign was going to be enough to bring Kamala Harris over the top. Turns out, not so much. Joining us now to discuss what the heck is going on in these poll numbers, Tom Bevan is here. He's the co-founder and president of Real Clear Politics, and he joins us on the phone. Hello, Tom.
Hey, Vince. How are you?
Doing well. These New York Times poll numbers getting a lot of attention this weekend. A lot of left-wingers upset, and a lot of right-wingers cautiously optimistic. How do you view it?
Well, look, I mean, so the New York Times took a poll immediately after Kamala Harris became the de facto nominee when Biden dropped out on July 22nd. They went into the field, and they came back with a reading of Trump +1, 48-47. And their poll that came out yesterday was Trump +1, 48-47. So after all the hoopla of Kamala Harris's campaign and the DNC and all of the coverage, fawning media coverage that she got about, it's basically the same as it was 6 weeks ago. It was even worse for her in the when you look at the multi-candidate number that includes RFK and others, and they didn't include RFK this time, but when she became the nominee on July 22nd, it was Harris +1. Now it's Trump +2. So that's been a move toward former President Trump in the multi-candidate race. So, look, I think a lot of people expected this to happen, that this race would settle back into. Now, remember, I mean, she took a race that Democrats were clearly losing. I mean, when Biden dropped out, he was behind by over 3 points in our RCP national average. She's now up like 1.2. So a 4-point swing. She took a lot of these swing states that were literally, Democrats were behind 5, 6, 7 points, were kind of falling by the wayside, and those are now close again. So they're in a much better place with her than they were with President Biden. That is clear. But it is still a very, very close race, and I think there is some indication that, that all of the media hype surrounding her campaign sort of obscured the fact that this is a very tight race. President Trump's numbers are, solid. He's at 47%, 48% in the polls, roughly, and her numbers are about the same.
Well, one of the useful tools on your website, Tom Bevan, Real Clear Politics, is I can go back and look at the same timeframes in both 2016 and 2020 and compare Trump's support. And what I find when I check Real Clear Politics is Trump has never been more popular. He's polling at his best level of any of the presidential elections, and his actual popularity, as measured by these polls, finds him as popular as he's ever been. I know that might come as some shock to people, but it did to me. I didn't realize that. But here we are. Should the Trump campaign find encouragement in that?
Oh, definitely. I mean, there's no question. He's in a way better position than he was, 4 years ago and 8 years ago. He's, again, he was behind by, and this is the part that I think Democrats should be worried about. I mean, again, think about it. Kamala Harris has a 1.2 lead right now in the Real Clear Politics average nationally.
Right.
Hillary Clinton won the national vote by 2.1% and lost the Electoral College. Joe Biden won the national vote by 4.5 points and barely won in the Electoral College. And so, while again the Democrats I think are in much better position than they were before, there's still work to do there. I think if the election were held today.
Yes.
And then there's the whole question, Vince, about the polls, and we just did a video on this last week. The polls clearly underestimated Trump in 2016 and 2020 in a lot of these battleground states. And the question is, will they do that again? And if they do, then Trump is in an even better spot than the polls would indicate.
Right.
So I think that would make him even more of a favorite than he is now.
I think it was last week I had Robert Cahaly on from the Trafalgar Group, and I always talk to him about this phenomenon of shy Trump respondents in polling, shy Trump voters. And it's measurable. He says it's out there. They definitely see it. And he also talked about the challenges that pollsters have broadly in just getting people on the phone. So many people, with cell phones these days, if I have a mystery number calling in, chances are I'm not answering it. My expectation is that it's a scam. And why would I waste my time? And so this has to be, it's already an inexact science. It's got to be more difficult by the year.
Oh, definitely. And, Robert has been one of the most accurate pollsters over the last, few cycles in terms of not just presidential polling, but I think, and so he's, he knows what pollsters are up against. And he's been one of the ones, for whatever reason, Donald Trump sort of discombobulates the electorate, right? He brings in people who haven't participated in elections before. He also, motivates his supporters, but also motivates Democrats. I mean, he does a lot of really sort of funny things to the electorate.
Mm-hmm.
And pollsters, despite 2 tries at it, they haven't really been able to get a good handle on it, other than, Cahaly and maybe a couple of others. And we'll see whether that continues or not.
Were there any surprises in the New York Times polling data? We talk about the top lines here, but there's a couple things that stand out to me. Among them is that 28% of voters say they really don't know enough about Kamala Harris. They need to know more. 9% say the same about Donald Trump. Also on the questions of whether or not they're either too liberal or too conservative, voters are much more likely to say Kamala Harris is too liberal. They say 44% of them say too liberal. As far as Donald Trump, just 32% say he's too conservative. In fact, most people say 50% of them say not too far either way. They think he's kind of in the dead middle. Anything that stands out to you?
Well, there was that question about change, right? And
yes.
People are looking for change agents, and they think that Donald Trump actually will represent more of a change agent than Kamala Harris, and that's been one of the challenges of her campaign, right? She's trying to have it both ways and say she's a step in the new direction. She's going to, take us in a new direction.
Yeah.
But also, without trying to take credit for any successes that Democrats have had, but also distance herself from the current administration, obviously, which she's part of, and that's clearly not working. I don't think the public is buying that. At least they haven't yet.
Yes. You know, Tom Bevan, on that front, that number, Kamala Harris, more than 60% of likely voters said the next president should represent a major change from Mr. Biden. This is the New York Times write-up. Only 25% said the vice president represented that change. Well, yeah, no kidding. She's the vice president. 53% said that Mr. Trump, the former president, did represent that change. To your point, Tom, this reminds me in a lot of ways of 2016. I remember election night 2016, before we got our first exit polling data of the night, we had sentiment polling that was coming out. And the overwhelming majority of respondents were indicating that they were tired of the status quo and they wanted change. And that was I thought that was the first big indicator of election night that this election could go Trump's way. What parallels, if any, do you see to the 2016 election and Trump as change agent?
Well, I mean, look, this is a unique situation because he's a known quantity. He's been president before, right? So but he's not in power. So he is, by virtue of being out of power, he can claim to be an outsider and a change agent. But at the same time, people have a basis for which they can compare what things were like when he was in office and what things have been like over the last 4 years. And people are looking back on his time in office very fondly when it comes to the economy. Look, the economy is the number one issue in this election by far. And in that New York Times poll and every other poll that's been out, Trump is leading on that metric by double digits. So he clearly has, an advantage on the biggest issue. And the fact that this is a tied race shows you that, he's got other problems that are really, voters are grappling with. And that's no surprise either. But that's one of the things he can claim to be he actually has more of a right to claim himself as a change agent, even though, again, he is a former president than Kamala Harris does. She's trying to make that claim as well. It doesn't, as I said, it doesn't seem to be working.
Does having Dick Cheney endorse your campaign indicate change agent?
I don't know about that one. It's funny, though. I think you've got Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger and all these folks on the right. And then, Trump has got RFK and Tulsi Gabbard, all these former Democrats turned independents. And so there really is some interesting crossover appeal or narratives in this campaign that we're seeing.
No question.
That we haven't seen in a lot of the past campaigns.
Yeah, no, I saw somebody pointing it out. I'd all due credit on X, but even among the billionaires, the very wealthy, that you're seeing a separation. And basically choosing of sides in a very public way, and very unusually so, actually, between these two parties. Elon Musk on one side and the Reid Hoffmans and all these other guys on the left. And so there is a sorting of sorts going on right now in American politics, Tom Bevan.
Totally. Yeah, no, it's really interesting. And we have been in a very divided country for a long time now, very sort of tribal. But this is sort of somewhat of a new development. I think we're still in a pretty tribal situation, but certainly there have been some interesting bedfellows that have been made, particularly over the last couple of years. And again, that has a lot to do with Donald Trump. He's a uniquely polarizing figure. Sure. But also some of the schisms that have appeared within the Democratic Party over things like, you think about RFK Jr. and the wars that have been going on and things like that. It's very much a different Republican Party than it was, 15 or 20 years ago. Yeah,
because the electorate's very different for sure. So I've been citing some of these Nate Silver assessments, and I don't know how seriously you take them, Tom Bevan, but one place that I'm seeing conservatives take some encouragement right now is that as of today, he's got President Trump at a 64.4% chance of winning the election, and he in fact thinks that each of the swing states that President Trump is in a very strong position right now. Do you place any stock in that? Do you take his assessments and his model seriously?
Look, I don't know what exactly. I can't really speak to why his model is showing up the way it is and what's going on there. Mm-hmm. But obviously, I think there is some, and he is getting a lot of publicity, particularly from folks on the right now who are looking at his model and thinking, okay, they're heartened by it.
Right.
But I think it speaks to the idea that that this race is really close. And if you look at our betting odds average, for example, we aggregate the 6 largest betting markets in the world. And these are real people putting real money down on what they think is going to happen in November, on November 5th.
Yeah.
And Trump has moved ahead in that metric by about 5 percentage points as of today.
Wow.
He was trailing just until last week. So I think there is a sense that, this race is probably either shifted in Trump's favor or that Kamala Harris, her bubble has burst a little bit. And the honeymoon might be, in fact, ending or over. And I think that's what Nate's model is getting to, too.
Yeah.
And you can see that in some of these polls.
Yeah, and he keeps pointing out in all of his writings that one of the things that's affecting all of this is she didn't get the post-convention bounce that they were expecting, that the model would have anticipated. And as a result, she's very much suffering in the projections right now because without that bounce, this is as good as she's really ever going to be. Do you think that she's hit her ceiling?
It's quite possible, and I'm waiting to see more data on that. But certainly, and I think it is true because she got the bounce early. I mean, she got it when the announcement was made, and she made the switch, and there was this sort of just cathartic release among Democrats, this sort of euphoria that they did not have to deal with Joe Biden anymore, and so she energized Democrats and received the benefit of that, But you're right. I mean, I think that was all baked into before the convention even happened.
Yeah. And now we got a big debate tomorrow night. Anything can happen there. All right. Tom Bevan from Real Clear Politics. Thank you very much for your time today. Always appreciate your insight, sir.
You got it.
Right. Well, some sad news to report this hour. Today we say goodbye to James Earl Jones. The breaking news, Deadline reporting that James Earl Jones, the actor with the incredible, unmistakable voice, has passed away at the age of 93 years old, dying this morning in Dutchess County, New York. I'm seeing a lot of headlines right now, and a lot of people are focusing on his role as the voice, not the body, but instead the voice of Darth Vader.
I'll never join you! If you only knew the power of the dark side. When I first saw the dialogue that said, "Luke, I am your father," I said to myself, he's lying. I wonder how they're going to play that liar. Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father. He told me enough. He told me you killed him. No, I am your father.
Yeah, it's pretty. What an amazing voice. I was thinking, what movie? And the second I saw that he had passed away, the movie that jumped to mind for me was The Sandlot. The Sandlot. Remember all the kids playing baseball on the Sandlot, and they'd hit the ball over the fence, and there was a big scary dog, and it was James Earl Jones who was the owner of the big scary dog as the kids worked to get the baseball back. Great movie. Tons of great film credits. Of course, all the Star Wars movies in which he plays the voice of Darth Vader. Patriot Games, Coming to America, Conan the Barbarian, The Hunt for Red October. This guy did it all. And, of course, The Lion King. He plays Mufasa in The Lion King. Matthew Broderick's father in that movie, who played Simba. Actually, which one was it when he was Kid Simba? It was Jonathan Taylor Thomas playing Kid Simba. Anyway, the point is James Earl Jones, an amazing, amazing voice and actor, has passed away at the ripe old age of 93 years old. He moves on. And just always a touching moment when something like that happens. And my guess is for a lot of people, it's like, is a guy who played an outsized role in a lot of people's lives. Just there he is, all your kids' movies, adult movies, all of them. James Earl Jones has passed away. Okay. Let me see here. Let me take a phone call before we... Actually, I tell you what. I'll take a phone call on the other side of the news. Hold on, Jeff. I want to talk to you. Jeff's calling in from Herndon. We're going to have a conversation in just a moment. We'll get to what else is happening in the country. And Matt Walsh joins me in the next hour. Don't miss a moment of it. Stay with us.